This is the moment we've all been waiting for. It's time! Presenting the champion of the world, Phil Wham Bam Benamino!
Yo, it's your boy. It's Phil Wham Bam Benamino, and I'm here with another Wham Bam Wednesday. And super excited. We got an epic show today. The show that's about ordinary people that have done extraordinary things. And you know what? I got to say one thing before we get started. This show is all because of you, and I need a favor. I need you to go out there and make sure you subscribe. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Subscribe and make sure you hit the little bell that gives you the alerts and stuff. And then make sure you like it and share it. Because you guys have been doing that, we've been growing phenomenally, and we're very excited because we're able to continue to bring you these ordinary people that have done super extraordinary things in life. So that gives people a chance to understand that, guess what? Even you can be successful no matter what happens. Remember, there's 24 hours in a day for everybody. It's what you do with those 24 hours. So you know what? That being said, I want you to also know that we listen here at Wham Bam Podcast about what our viewers want. You said you wanted apparel. We've got a lot of emails saying, hey man, where can I get some of that merchandise? Well, guess what? We got Wham Bam Podcast shirts and hats now available on our website at whambamspodcast.com. So feel free to go there and make a little purchase there and show some love and some support with that as well. So let's get back into our show here today, and let me introduce to you, we have a gentleman here from a very small town of Geneva, New York. That's right. It's a tiny little town, just a small one, but this guy's got a big story, and I can't wait for it to be exposed. Because you know what? He grew up, he was working in a shoe store that was owned by his family. He painted houses. He didn't know what he was going to do. He was a little bit of a troublemaker. I ain't going to lie. I'm going to talk to him about that. He was. But the reality is, you know what? He decided, hey, I want more. I want to be more. I want to have more. And he took a chance. He came over here to Life College. He graduated. He became a doctor. He got a doctorate degree. He was in the chiropractic, and he opened up his own business. He was successful in that. But you know what? That wasn't enough either. He made some great investments that he's going to talk to you about, share those investments with you, some different ideas. And he also is now one of the largest distributors in Northern America of a little technology called SoftWave, which we're going to discuss what that means. That's actually a solution that he wanted to have to get rid of all pills, all pill popping. When people get sick, people get hurt, doctors want to give you a prescription. Here's a prescription. Go take it. You're going to get better. Well, guess what? He said, you know what? I got to find a solution for that, man. There's too many people. There's too many addicts out there. And you know what? He did it. Not only did he did it, he did it super well. And you know what? I think he's coming in right now, and we're going to talk about it. There he is. Hey, Maddie, what's up, man? Good to see you.
Wham Bam. Thank you, ma'am.
That's right, man. No, thank you for being here today on today's episode and stuff. So can't wait to chop this up here and talk a little bit about, where you came from and where you are today and all the awesome things that you've done along the journey, man. So thanks again for being here.
Yeah, well, I'm grateful to be here. And, we come from the same neck of the woods.
I know.
Just is huge. And, I get excited just because, like, you raised the bar for so many of us, and seeing guys like you and Kyle Salone. And it's been awesome to see, like, three hometown boys that can actually do something with their lives.
Yeah. Well, thank you, man. Well, you know what? Like I said before, anybody can do it.
Yeah.
So, right. But you're living proof of that. That's why you're here today. So, you know what? Let's get started here. We're talking about to the viewers and stuff. Born and raised. Talk about Daddy's shoe store and stuff and what your days were like and growing up and young and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, like, I literally from kindergarten, first grade on, if I was out of school, I was at my dad's shoe store working, and literally from the time I was 6 or 7 years old till I was 15 or 16, I did the same thing. And when my dad sold some shoes, there would be gaps in the storage area, and I went back and I worked behind the scenes. So I was always kind of fixing up the stock and getting things going on, but very grateful. And if I wasn't playing lacrosse or football, my brothers, I had two older brothers, we were at the shoe store working. And the best thing was, man, being able to hang with my dad and seeing how he interacted with customers. And that was huge, man.
They didn't have online shoes then. Where nowadays people are going online, they're buying their shoes, they're getting these shoe drops, they're paying thousands of dollars for sneakers and stuff. I know that didn't happen to your dad's store.
No. My dad had a family shoe store, and from the time you came in, from as kids, and before school we would always be busy. And my dad had a really good program where if people couldn't pay all the money, they could make weekly payments. And
Layaway, right?
yeah, it was a layaway.
Wow,
and so,
that's right.
No, it was great. And to see him and his cousin Pat Diduro, that ran that shoe store for 46 years, was really a lot of fun. And but you can't buy that. Getting to watch someone that works, and your dad was an amazing guy. Your dad worked for Pepsi, and he was all over town. He was just
45 years.
45 years.
But I'm not gonna lie, man. I wanted those Converse, the pumps.
Yep.
I remember being a kid, and he had the first pumps that came out.
Yep. My dad had the first Nikes.
Yeah, we couldn't afford that stuff, but your dad, I think we paid $10 a week, man, until we paid that stuff off. But we got them.
Yep.
We got them. My parents made sure I got them.
The kids at school would be like, those Adidas are $120. Like, you must be rich. And I'm like, we didn't know anything. My parents were born during the Depression, and they always thought they were going to lose everything they had, and they didn't. It wasn't until I was in college that I was like, oh my gosh, we were lucky we got to go on vacations and do things like that. But my parents always made it seem like we were a very humble family.
That's good. Got to stay humble. Well, you know what? Obviously, growing up that way, being from a small town, going to college. Now, I know you went to Life College here in the state of Georgia and stuff, which it had to been a big adjustment for you moving into the state of Georgia. I know it was for me.
Well, I did LA first, so I was out there for a couple of years.
Where'd you go in LA?
I was in Seal Beach, and I worked in LA. I worked for Gould's Pumps, that was right out of Seneca Falls. It was my first 2 years out of school.
Okay.
And and I realized while I was out in LA that I wanted to go to chiropractic college.
I was going to ask you, what was that your goal when you first went out there? Was it for chiropractic?
No. I mean, my first goal was just make some money, save up. I didn't want to, I did undergrad. I wasn't even go to college, except I played high school lacrosse, and there was no pro lacrosse. So the only way to get 4 more years was to go to college. So I was like 8th grade. I was like, I better get my grades together, and I was a little bit of a delinquent, up until that point. And so I started started focusing on school. And I had 2 older brothers that were pretty darn smart. And my mom was a teacher, so she was like, my dad was in World War II. He didn't get to go to college. And his phrase was, the more you learn, the more you earn, the less you work.
Amen.
You know what I mean? And it was just a simple concept that my grandpa used to say, work smarter, not harder, and he was always putting ladders up.
Great quotes.
He started Diduro painting in 1919, and and it's still to this day, my uncle Ozzie ran it, and then my cousin Bobby now runs it in our hometown.
Now, wait a second. I got to stop you right there. So you painted houses, which would mean you would have to get on a ladder. Now, I know you, Maddie.
Yeah.
You're not really good with heights. How did that work out?
No, I did that like 16, 17 years old. It was part of the family tradition. You have to go, work in the painting business. And my grandpa, right off the boat from Italy, God bless him, Mario, he went by Mike, but he wouldn't pay us, me especially, unless I painted the top, the highest peak on the house. And I would sit there on the ladder, and I would be like closing my eyes and painting, and then I'd come down and that's the reason why I'm a chiropractor, because I was scared of freaking heights.
That's it right there.
But they thought they could break me of it, and I just couldn't, man. I still to this day have these weird ass dreams.
But why chiropractic? Like, what was it that got you there?
Yeah, I mean, funny. I mean, I always we had Dr. Dool, who was the pediatrician in town in Geneva, and I just loved him, and I wanted to be
shout out to Doc.
Yeah, I wanted to be a medical doctor, and I loved biology, and I studied hard, and but I had a thing with like blood and needles, like, so I wasn't always. I wanted to be a pediatrician, but I just couldn't do. My first 2 years was in pre-med, but I just had these weird little things, I could
when you see blood, like you just like faint, pass out.
Even when I was giving blood, I would pass out. So, but it started Pop Warner football. Geneva Football League. Sam Pasalaca was my coach, and one of the biggest influences in my life. And I think I was 11 years old, and it was a Sunday games that we would play over in Geneva. And I made a tackle, and I tweaked my neck. And the next morning I woke up, I had torticollis, and my neck was all stiff, and I couldn't go to school. It was a Monday, and I remember my dad was at work, and my mom, she had to skip going to school, and she brought me to the emergency room, and I was in all this pain, and they gave me the shot of Darvocet, and all I remember is throwing up on the emergency room floor, and my mom took me home, and she called my dad, and my dad came home, picked me up, brought me to Dr. Antonucci. That's all I remember. He had these huge hands, and they put me on the table, and I was like, and it was like,
He fixed you.
it fixed me.
It's like,
And I actually played that next Sunday, and but that's been my Achilles, my neck, ever since that day. And even my senior year of football playing against Mid Lakes, I couldn't play. It was the last game of the season, and I had tweaked my neck. So it was something that came every 3 to 5 years.
Gotcha.
That little wig. So I would
that's when you realize a chiropractor actually could help you.
Yeah, it helped me. And so even I guess my sophomore year of college, I had a bad whiplash injury during a game, and I lost, my whole junior year. I couldn't play. I had a red shirt, and I went to my brother. He went to chiropractic college, and I remember I drive all the way down. I went to Nazareth College, played lacrosse out there, and I would work with my brother, and he saved me from having neck surgery in 1986.
Oh wow!
And I remember the neurosurgeon saying, I've never seen chiropractic help for anybody. And I was like, let me be the first, dude, because it helped me. And
it's so funny, man, because a lot of chiropractic care back in the day used to get a lot of bad rap. Like everybody thought, oh, witch doctors type of thing, like that's, they're just cracking your bones. You're going to always have to go. But now today it's routine.
It's getting there.
I mean, it really does make a huge difference. And, I had an athlete on the show several weeks ago, and we were talking about that, like preparation for practice, preparation for a game, study and all those things. Well, just as important is recovery and what you do afterwards and stuff. And so many people are out of alignment and out of adjustment. And by doing that, it keeps them on the field, keeps them playing.
Yeah. Nick Athens, who's a chiropractor out in San Francisco, used to take care of Joe Montana and Jerry Rice. I'll never forget, pictures of him adjusting people on the sidelines, these top players. And I was like, that's what I want to do, So I was lucky enough that it not only did it help me, but it helped me avoid surgery. And I took a job out in LA for a couple of years, but I was always trying to save money to go back. And I was actually, I was lucky to come down here. Met my lovely wife after, just a couple of months down here. And I remember calling my mom saying, Mom, I'm going to marry a Georgia peach.
There you go.
They're just great women. And so, but yeah, like coming here was so much fun, and going to school, and everybody kind of working out, training, taking care of their body, and your body lives from motion. Your joints live from motion. Your heart and your lungs live from motion. And my chiropractor Bob Bacon, he always says, the slower you move, the faster you die. And so it's like we got to keep mobility going.
That's deep right there.
So our body lives from motion. So I was lucky to kind of fall into chiropractic, and but fell in love with the wonderful patient outcomes.
Yeah, well, that's great. So you know what? Talk about your practice and stuff. I mean, I know you started your chiropractic practice and stuff. Obviously, you've had a lot of people and a lot of success with that. I know you had a location up in Geneva, New York originally. Then you put one up here in Georgia, but you changed it a little bit. You went more in the pain management because you said that you really got tired of people that were in lots of pain, but people just wanted to throw pills at them. Take the pain pills, take the opiates, and call me tomorrow type thing. And that became a problem.
Yeah, well, I mean, I had a little practice in upstate New York, central New York, and I took it over from my brother. He moved to Italy for 11 years with his 4 kids, and I had a great opportunity to kind of run his business for a couple of years that turned into I bought it. And it's tough when you go back to your hometown because, I told you, people were like, I can't believe the state gave you a license with all the shit you did. I was a little bit of a hellion. And, but it was awesome because I got to work with my dad for 2 years. He kind of helped me. He was good with marketing, and he passed away early on. But, I got those couple of years to work with him. And the thing about chiropractic is only 12% of the population will even visit a chiropractor.
Well,
which
I
is
didn't know it
sad.
was that really that small.
It's as little. And so,
So back in the day, it was probably a lot worse than that.
yeah, and there was, the AMA as early as like 1980s, they didn't allow medical doctors to associate with chiropractors. It was in their guidelines, and there was a guy, Chester Wilk, who actually sued the AMA and won. It's like David versus Goliath, and I was lucky because my brother had started early and didn't have really great success working with medical doctors, and I came in '95 in Geneva and started working, and by '96, I was getting referrals from some of the medical doctors in our town, orthopedists, and that was awesome. And so I always kind of had a good relationship with the physical therapist and the orthopedist, and but when I came down here.
But Maddie, before you came down here, didn't you have an incident up there in Geneva with a patient at one time?
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right.
Actually took you out of the game.
Remember me? I had a 350-pound patient fall off the table. My first reaction, grab him, dislocated my right shoulder, detached my labrum, tore ligaments in my wrist. I went from who's who to who's that.
Yeah, because I remember
Yeah,
you
I
were
was
disabled.
out of work. Yeah,
you were out of,
yeah.
Yeah.
I literally was out of work for 3 years. Two surgeries.
Now, what was that like? That might have been depressing as heck. Here you are, you got a successful business, things are going good for you. You finally got a path in life that you're comfortable with, and then bam, all of a sudden,
wham bam,
wham bam.
Boom, I mean,
wham bam, you're out for 3 years.
Believe it when you say, be nice to the people on the way up because you see them on the way down.
That's right. I say it all the time.
And life, and I teach this to my children. My parents taught it to me. Life is about hills and valleys, and it's not like how you're, reacting when you're up here. It's how you react down here.
That's right.
And
it's funny too. I had a good friend of mine, Parseg, who always told me, it's not, people don't need you when you're at your good times. You find out the people who your friends are when you have your bad times. You know what I'm saying? That's when they really need you and stuff. So you're at the pinnacle here. Now you're you're disabled.
Done. And we sold our businesses up there, and you had a couple chiropractic clinics, and we moved down here at age 40. I retired. Thank God my father talked me into getting a disability policy because it was a very rigorous profession. Dentists, chiropractors kind of get disabled a lot quicker, and it was, I was lucky. I had a few years and I had some nice income coming in. And then you said it to me, it's like, I didn't want to put all my eggs in one basket. Chiropractic was not just the only thing I wanted to do. I was more of an entrepreneur. My dad owned some, rentals, and I love commercial property, and I bought one up there, and, I bought something down here when I got here. And I like to take a property like you and make it better. Well, it's, what's in our possession. It's like it's our gift to make that property a little better. And I mean, you've done that for years, I know. But it gave me a few years and gave me a perspective. I went from Dr. Diduro to Emma and Analia and Isabella's dad, and it was nice for a couple of years for recovery. And you know what it's like to get your.
I've been beat up, especially this year.
It's been a tough year.
Yeah, medically.
And so, it was like I had some time, and the shoulder surgery was a complete success. Dr. Mike Maloney, great guy up in University of Rochester. And then I had a hand surgery that just botched. And for literally 10 years, I was in pain every waking hour, like a pain level of 5. It was like Chinese water torture. And, I took a job at Life University. I became the functional rehab director. I was, I got to work with these students, and I had, $200,000 worth of equipment, cold lasers, ultrasounds, dry needling. Nothing could help my pain in my wrist. And it's funny, when you hear something, it was soft wave. I heard it 3 times in 1 month. I heard it from our CFO at a spine surgery group that I worked at. And then my brother-in-law mentioned it. And then he dragged me up there, and John Warlick, who's the founder of Soft Wave, I remember he did one treatment 3-minute treatment on my wrist, and I was pain-free for 2 days.
Really? That's cool. Hey, we got to take a minute here. We got to thank our sponsors, though. First of all, we want to thank Cost Plus Processing, who is the leader in merchant processing. If you're a business owner out there and you need to take credit cards and you're still paying credit card fees, make sure you call 1-855-391-9190. That's 1-855-391-9190. And make sure you talk about this podcast and you'll get a free prize. And we're back to the show. And Maddie, so, I'm here with Maddie Diduro, and we're kind of getting caught up. This gentleman who, he went from, being raised in a business, in a shoe store and stuff, painting houses, moved to Life College here in Georgia, went back home, started a chiropractic practice. He took over of his brothers, did really well, and then bam, wham, bam, got knocked down. Got knocked down right down to his feet. Ended up had a disability claim for 3 years. He was out of work. Luckily, he did get a little bit of settlement, which now he had a little bit of money, but he went back to work at Life College as a professor. And once he gets a settlement, he decides,
what am I going to do with it?
What am I going to do with this?
Yeah, I got to invest in myself. That's what people kept saying. Like, you got to invest in you. And, so I go in for this treatment, SoftWave. I get a 3-minute treatment on my wrist. And I'm literally pain-free for 2 days. It's the first time in a decade that I had any relief. And I remember telling my wife, this must be a placebo effect. This has got to be baloney, because where'd this pain go? This constant companion that I'd always had was gone. Went in for 2 more treatments over the next week. I was 90% better. I bought a device, and I didn't have to treat my wrist for 14 months. And I literally felt like Ray Kroc. I was like, I could put this thing in every major city, every chiropractor's office.
So Matt, I gotta tell you though, because talking about pain and you with pain, you're not really good with pain, man. I know there's a video out there that is going a little viral and stuff. About somebody put what was that? They put a balloon or something in your nose,
balloon,
and squeezed it, and the pain, it hurt me watching it.
Oh my God!
What was that procedure there that was being done?
I'm a little bit of embarrassed of that. I have my nose broken 4 times through football and lacrosse and some goofy street fights, but my nose is a little crooked. The septum's really off. And I was at an event. I was at a seminar, and this guy, Dr. Brendan Couchman.
Big shout out to Doc there.
Yeah,
Brendan.
he does this, and he takes these little nasal balloons and they pump up this, and then they pop your septum back into place, and you're able to breathe better and sleep better and not snore. And so I had it done 3 years ago, and it was so bad it re-broke my nose, and it took me 3 years to actually do it again. So I was like,
did it work though?
Yeah, it worked. It helps. But so I knew that something was still not right in there. So I had Brendan, and I said, hey, do you, will somebody film this? Because I was like, and then that thing's seen,
we're definitely showing this, man. We're definitely showing this.
It is weak. And it felt like it was going to blow out my brain. And so that TikTok went crazy.
So listen, man, being the fact that obviously you don't like pain, your wrist is hurting and stuff, you find out about SoftWave, and there's this this machine that can heal you without having surgery, without any drugs, without any needles.
It sounds kind of futuristic. It sounds like BS a little bit, but it's genuine lithotripsy. It's the same technology they've used for 40 years to break up kidney stones, biliary stones, salivary stones, and it uses supersonic sound waves that can penetrate the depth of this water bottle into your body. And what we found in the last 6-7 years is that wherever we place it on the human body, there's a positive biological effect, and it activates stem cells, which are the repairman of your body, for literally pennies, right? To generate this, and so. At the time, it was a Harvard, Mayo Clinic, Cleveland Clinic in urology. It helps with, men's and women's sexual issues. And so when I found it, I was like, I put it in our clinic here in Atlanta, and we have, 2 medical doctors, nurse practitioner, alternative pain management. And we just realized that, oh my God, this thing was helping some of the worst patients. Our patients are chemo, diabetic neuropathy, chemo-induced neuropathy, genetic neuropathy, and these are people that just they're having a tough time.
Yeah.
And we were able to start using this on them and seeing their sensory nerve function double. What used to take us 12 weeks, now we were getting people better in 6 weeks. And I was like, oh my God, I'm onto something. It's like when you find something, you get excited and you get passionate about it. And I was like, I can put this in every town in America. So I bought North American distribution rights from Softwave because they were just selling to urologists.
Right.
And I was like, I'm going to open this up to the chiropractic profession. And I thought, it was going to be easy. I'll sell a few of these, make $1 million and walk away, right? Mm-hmm. Well, the first 11 months, I had 110 doctors say no. And they'd say, Diduro, if this is as good as you say it is, why isn't it everywhere?
Right.
And I'm like, that's my mission. I want to get it there,
See, people don't realize, man, somebody has to be the first. Mm-hmm. You know how many times, even in business today, that I've met business owners and stuff and said, well, I'm not sure. Let me wait and see what my competition does. Mm-hmm. And I always say, what makes you different than the competition? Are you a leader or are you a follower? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, why don't you start being a leader? Be the first one to go out there. So, yeah, that must have been hard and challenging for you.
Yeah.
But you got to remember, too, it wasn't a cheap piece of equipment either.
It's like buying a new Porsche.
Yeah, like 80, 90,000. How much is it, one of those things?
It can be anywhere from 75 to 100,000.
Yeah, it's a big investment.
And it is. And for chiropractors, like the most expensive thing they bought is their house,
Right.
And so so I bought the rights for it, and I'll never forget John Warlick. He took out some friends and buddies that night, and he paid for dinner. And they're like, why are you so happy? He goes, oh, this dumb chiropractor bought the distribution.
Dumb, meaning you're the dummy? Is that what he's saying? You're the dummy. Yeah.
And he, just didn't think that chiropractors, that I would ever sell any. And he was almost right. Again, 110 said no to me. But it was this one guy, the same dude who bought my clinic in Geneva, New York, Brian Lowry. Shout out to Brian and Chance Lowry.
Shout out to Brian.
And they were the first to believe in me because they bought my clinic. They did really well. And they had been watching me kind of post the videos and stuff in my clinic in Atlanta. And Chance, the son, who's also a chiropractor, Chance the rapper, now Chance the chiropractor, was like, Dad, we need to get this. And so I brought it up there. And we did some demos in our hometown, and I brought some uncles and aunts that couldn't, were limping around, and they were impressed, and they bought it. They were the first one to buy it, and
man, now you got what the Miami Dolphins are using it.
Oh,
for, right?
I mean, listen, we went from that one, and then in August we sold 3 more. That was in 2018. We sold 19 in 2019. We sold 58 in 2020 during COVID. And I learned how to sell them over Zoom calls.
Right.
$80,000 device, right?
Yeah.
And so we were lucky and blessed. In 2021, we sold 200.
You're growing.
2022, where it sold 400, and it's just taken on. So.
Hey, we're rigging it up, baby. You're rigging it up.
but the nice thing was, the company saw the value in chiropractic. Now we're almost 87% of their business. And I run that vertical now, right. And they bought back, and they paid 10 times what I paid for that distribution right in 2017. Uh-huh. And then they brought me on to kind of run that division because I built a new vertical that they weren't even looking at.
Well, you proved the concept. Number one,
proof of concept.
And that's really what it boils down to. Somebody has to, forefront that, and that's why you're here today because you did that. You took a chance. You know what? You had a little bit of disability money. You could have called it quits.
Yeah.
But no, you went all in. You said, "Man, I found the product here. I'm tired of these people that are in pain. What can we do to fix them?" You found a solution. I mean, what better way? You have a problem, you find a solution.
Well, that's what technology is finding a solution. And I kind of feel like Indiana Jones, like this retired professor who falls upon this device. It's been around there for 40 years, and we repurpose it to help deal with pain, and again, activate stem cells.
Crazy.
Again, if you've
I've
stem
used
cells
it.
and they're $5,000, and they may be the future of healthcare, but right now they're the future for professional athletes and people with money that can roll the dice.
Man, what is that like? I mean, think about this. You went from your hometown, you're going to your aunts and uncles, use a machine, and I seen you out there at the Dallas Cowboys facility. You know what I'm saying? Is that like when you sit there and you're staring up at somebody? Because I know you're looking up, because these guys are giants among men that are playing in the NFL and stuff.
It's badass.
What is it?
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, I used to sit in chiropractic college. I have a little ADHD. I'm dyslexic. I can barely read. It was the hardest thing I ever did getting through.
You were
college.
dyslexic.
I still am.
Wow,
I
that's
can't.
amazing.
I can barely say the alphabet.
You don't need to now. All you can do is count the money in the bank, baby. Count the money in the bank.
So I mean, I would sit in chiropractic college and look out the window and daydream about, because we wanted to play professional sports. I mean,
Of course.
I was like 13. I was this big, and
I still want to play.
and the second best thing of playing in the NFL is maybe working with these athletes.
Sure.
And from a dyslexic kid from Geneva, New York, to being a consultant for the NFL, NBA, some of the live and PGA Tour people, UFC. I mean, it's been a dream come true, and a blessing. And it doesn't happen. It's not because of me. It's because of this technology, and I was just one of the first people to bring it to.
You know what, Matt? I'm going to disagree with you. The technology is important. Don't get me wrong. Big shout out to technology, SoftWave, great product. But if it weren't for you, it wouldn't be out there. You know what I'm saying? Somebody had to be the forefront. Somebody had to go out there and say, I believe, and I'm going to make this happen. And you know what? That's what it's about. It's about the character. You can't teach that. You either have it or you don't. You're just telling me that you had 110 no's.
Yeah.
Okay. Which meant in my world, it's not N-O, it's K-N-O-W. They need to know more. And you provided that.
Yeah.
You provided them to know more.
By the way, after those 110 visits, and I had basically gambled my wife and I's retirement, my father-in-law, my mother-in-law, my brother-in-law, my wife, they had an intervention. They basically said, look, maybe you need to give up this dream of trying to get this device everywhere and go back to chiropractic. Now you can move your wrist, get back to working. But something inside of me, like, that little voice, it's like, dude, you gotta share this, what you found. And I knew if I could, the proof of concept that I had in Atlanta, if I could share this with more of my profession, that they'd want it. And, there's a lot of thought leaders out there. There's few result leaders, right? And what we've been able to do is take it from this one little clinic in Atlanta to now scale it over to
hundreds of millions
clinics.
of dollars.
Oh yeah,
Hundreds of millions of
every day there's 1,000 patients, in our 1,000 clinics getting this treatment. And, I'm not the smartest dude. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that, oh yeah, I saw this coming, but I do. You asked me, like, what is like your super feature other than being a attention deficit? I turned that into a superpower, right? Because I couldn't focus on something for more than 10 minutes, but I could focus on 5 different things, 10 minutes here, 10 minutes here. And that's why, like, I love to own property. I have a marketing business, digital marketing. Like, I can write content. So.
But you're gonna do one good.
Yeah.
You're gonna do one good.
And so, I was lucky that I had a few people that believed in me and took a chance on me. And that's all it takes is 1 or 2 people. And then those 2 people told 2 people, and then those 2 people told, and you go from 1 clinic to 900 clinics over 5 years. The coolest thing, Phil, is that in the next 2.5 years, we're on pace to do another 900.
That's awesome.
And so,
there's no doubt you're going to get there too.
Yeah,
no doubt. Well, I appreciate that. Well, listen, man, Matt, before we go and wrap this up and stuff, and I know you've done a lot giving back, and you've done, going back to your hometown in Geneva and stuff, giving back to the town and stuff. What would you like to say to some people out there today that, came from a small town, dyslexic, maybe disabled, shut down, didn't think they could have a chance? I mean, look at you. What do you got to say to them?
Just grind it out. I love that book by Ray Kroc, and it is called Grinding It Out. And it's, you just, you have that drive, you have that desire. And if there's something that you're working with, that you believe in, you just can't stop. It reminds me of the story, 3 Feet from Gold, right? There was a guy from Baltimore, and his name was Ron Darby. And Ron Darby is out, and it's during the gold rush, and he goes out to Colorado, and he buys a claim, and he starts working it, and all of a sudden he gets this little gold chunk, and it's like one of the bigger chunks they found, and he goes and he makes some money, and he buys some more equipment, and he gets his uncle to come in from Maryland, and they're digging and digging, and all of a sudden they lose that vein. And his whole life is like, oh, it's over, I'm done, I don't know what I'm going to do. So he sold it to like a handyman, a guy that came by and helped him with equipment and stuff like that. And then it said, the guy's like, "You sure you want to sell this?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he sells it to this handyman. And the handyman, what's he do? He goes and he hires a geologist. And the geologist comes out and he looks and he says, "You know what? Here's where the gold vein was. If you go 3 feet this way, we may pick up that vein again." So what's the guy do? He starts going 3 feet this way. They hit the largest sum of gold ever found in the state of Colorado. And what do you think that Dr. or Mr. Ron Darby felt about in Baltimore, Maryland?
Right.
He felt terrible.
Right.
He went on to become one of the richest and most successful life insurance salesmen. And he told that story in Think and Grow Rich in Napoleon Hill's book. And but it just tells you, like, in your mind you're that close. That's why consultants, people that you can hire, I'm grateful for you too, because about 5 years ago, you came into my clinic, you did some assessments and you said, "Matt, you're losing, $400 or $500 a month in processing fees."
Right.
And you're like, "I got this new concept and I think, look, we'll do this." And I was like, "No, and it won't do it. We've never done it that way, Phil." And what'd you do? You said, "Come on, take a chance." And I did, because I believed in you and I've seen what you've done. You save us between our 3 clinics $600-800 a month.
Yeah.
And it was a different concept, but now I see it everywhere. Like, people are picking it up. And this is not just about you and me. This is about sharing the knowledge that we get and giving it on to the people that come after us, and
exactly,
and paving some new stuff.
I always say, man, I'm just sharing so that people that are younger don't make the same mistakes. They get a little bit of head start. You know what I mean?
It's true. And I mean, listen, it was sharing that knowledge and sharing. I've seen a couple of podcasts where you're talking about finances, and these kids, sometimes they don't come from it. No. Right? They didn't learn it. And,
and they're fortunate because they have access to the social media, which we didn't growing up and stuff. So they can hear and learn from that. But you know what? There's some people that are right next door to you that that have done some great things in their lives and have made some great decisions and stuff, but nobody wants to hear about it. Nobody knows how to hear about it. So that's what we're exposing, The
millionaire next door.
That's right.
And by the way, it's not how much you make in life, it's how much you give back.
Yeah.
And it's the Pablo Picasso quote. But it's like, what do we do now? Like, tithing has been around in religion for thousands of years, and how do we give back? And my wife's always like, "Why did you want to go back to New York? And why did you go back to your hometown?" I'm like, "Because, man, that's where I'm from. That's who I am." And the hospitals up there took care of our parents, and my dad died from congestive heart failure. My mom had dementia, and I want to give back to that. So that's one of the things we're doing. Not only did Softwave and my family give a device to Life University, because I want every student to have access to this before they graduate, but also, I want to put these devices in different places and low income and in our hometown, in our area. So that's great. What it's about.
That's great. Hey, Maddie, last but not least, how do people find you? Somebody, this chiropractor out there right now today may be looking and say, "Man, I want to know about the software. I want to get this guy to come into my clinic and stuff." First of all, will you come? Will you show up?
Well,
I know you're traveling all over the country.
All over. I mean,
they can see you.
I got 1 million miles in 5 years.
How do they reach you?
Reach me through social media. It's Matthew Diduro on Facebook. It's Dr. Matt Diduro on TikTok or Instagram. My email is real easy. It's drdiduro, Diduro @gmail.com. And I'd love to help out in any way possible.
Well, there you have it, folks, and thanks for listening to Wham Bam's podcast, the show about ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Make sure you follow us and subscribe to all of our social media, especially our YouTube channel. If you have any questions that you would like to send us, go ahead and email them to whambam@whambamspodcast.com. Now remember, folks, you got one life to live, so make it epic. You got to ask yourself, if your life was a movie, would it be worth watching? Now go be extraordinary and just stop being ordinary. I can't wait to see you again next Wednesday on Wham Bam's podcast. And as always, stay positive. and keep testing negative. This is your boy Wham Bam, and I'm out.